Hey guys, today we're talking about how God learned to dream. Dim your lights, get comfortable, and enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this helps you fall asleep. It begins in a hush so soft you could mistake it for sleep, though nothing is asleep yet, because nothing has begun. There is only a wide, waiting quiet, the kind of silence that sits beside a crib before a child is born, or lingers in a chapel after candles are blown out. The quiet holds its breath, and you hold yours too, because somehow you are there, somewhere between not yet and almost, listening with your whole skin. You do not see him at first. You feel him, like warmth through glass, like the afterglow of dusk on a school night when the streetlights switch on one by one. The presence is steady, patient, and calm, as if eternity has all the time in the world, which of course it does. God is here. He does not speak, not yet. He is thinking, if a thought can be a place you enter and take off your shoes because the floor is holy. His stillness is not empty, it is rich, the way a field in winter aches with seeds. You stand at the edge of that field and notice how the air has weight, how darkness feels like velvet turned toward the light. You remember a line from Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And you realize beginnings are not always explosions. Sometimes they are breathing. You take one breath with him. The exhale comes like a tide over sand. And in that breath, something tender unfurls. Possibility, thin and shining as a sliver of moon. You had always imagined God as the one who never sleeps, and Scripture says so, the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps, the keeper of Israel. But tonight, you discover another mystery. There is a way of resting that is not sleep, and a way of dreaming that is not the closing of eyes. God's dream is not escape. It is intention shaped in love. He gathers silence the way water gathers in the palm of a hand, careful, unspilled. The silence gleams with hints, with what-ifs, with may-it-bes. You hear a far, low note, as if a cello were tuning somewhere beyond the last star. Darkness leans closer to listen. God's first dream is not of palaces or thrones. It is of a garden after rain. He imagines light like milk poured gently across leaves. He imagines a path brushed by dew and a wind that knows your name. He imagines an evening that never wounds and a morning that arrives without hurry. And then he imagines you moving through it all, small, cherished, bright around the edges. You are startled by how simple it is. Dreaming for God is not so different from blessing. He does not force the picture. He blesses it into being in his heart. You sense the blessing gather like a cloud, and when it is full, it will break into rain. But he waits. Love always waits to choose the gentlest time. He turns now toward the night itself, and the night lifts its face. Creation has not yet learned the alphabet, but it understands the grammar of his gaze. It listens like a lake listens for moonlight. It trembles in the tender way between fear and joy, which is to say, awe. In that awe, you begin to see shapes. At first, they are only brushstrokes on darkness, arcs of intention, curves of promise. Then, as a figure emerges from fog, the shapes gather and take on meaning. Threads of light, delicate as spider silk in morning air. They cross and braid, loosen and return, until the night wears a soft embroidery of brightness. These are not yet stars as you know them. They are ideas of stars, rehearsals of radiance. God holds them like a grandmother holds memories, close, careful, certain. He turns them in his hands the way a potter turns clay. And the quiet hum under everything deepens, a sound you feel in your chest more than hear with your ears. Let there be light, he will say soon, but tonight the words rest in his mouth like bread not yet broken. You wonder what it is to be God and to dream. You wonder if dreaming is a kind of remembering for him, remembering what love is capable of. Because when he dreams, you feel the world as it could be, pulse through the world as it is. Not two stories, but one story seen from two sides. A breeze where there is no air yet moves the darkness like a curtain. And in that stirring, you glimpse something that looks like a road made of tiny lamps. It travels into the unmade distance and curves back again, as if time were practicing the arc of history. You think of John, who wrote that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The sentence appears like frost on a window, cold, clear, beautiful. Your breath fogs it with wonder. God leans closer to his dream, the way a father leans over a sleeping child. His closeness shapes the unseen into kindness. You feel the steadying of his hand, the patience of his timing. He is not trying to be impressive. He is making a home. He dreams water into being, not as torrent, but as possibility. The hush before rain begins, the weight of a lake still hidden under stone. He dreams the music of water, the syllables that will one day teach us prayer. River, brook, sea, well. He dreams the taste of it on your tongue when you have been running and feel welcomed back by a cup. He dreams the way light will shatter over waves and repair itself again, always forgiving the stone that broke it. Then he dreams land rising from the deep, not by violence, not by tearing, but by invitation. Come, he thinks, and the land comes like a guest from a long journey, carrying mountains in its arms. The mountains do not boast. They stand the way elders stand when the young are talking, quiet, steady, protective. Valleys answer with their softness, and meadows lay themselves down like a tablecloth before a meal. He dreams the colours next, not the brashness of banners, but the humility of moss and the courage of pines. He dreams greens that comfort the iron browns that satisfy the hand, stones with veins like old songs, and clays that remember the grip of fingers. He dreams winter's clean whites, and autumn's warm confessions, spring's shy creams and summer's open blues. You realize, watching, that God learns as an artist learns, not by increasing what he knows, but by exploring the kindness of what he already is. Love experiments with new ways to be itself. That is his learning, not from ignorance to knowledge, but from fullness to expression. He dreams creatures whose bones are laughter and quiet both, deer who read the edges of light, foxes who turn the night into calligraphy, owls who hold the darkness like a lantern. He dreams a seahorse curled like a comma, reminding the sentence of life to pause and breathe. He dreams whales whose low hymns keep the oceans from forgetting joy. He dreams a garden in the middle of all this, a small, brave green that will host conversations longer than evenings. He dreams paths beaten not by duty, but by love going back and forth between friends. He dreams a gate that doesn't lock. He dreams a tree whose limbs can hold the weight of mornings. All this is beautiful, and still you feel there is more. The dream tilts. It leans toward a hearth where a soul can warm its hands. He dreams someone to hear him, and someone he will listen to. He dreams eyes that reflect stars, and the small light of a house, and his own laughter leaning in. He dreams a heart that can hold both day and night without breaking. You sense the tenderness sharpen. The air, which is not yet air, becomes sweet with the closeness of making. God cups his hands. He gathers a little earth from a place not yet placed, dust of promise, soil of song. He shapes it as easily as sleep shapes the face of a child, and then he leans, and the breath that started everything goes into this small thing. Breath becomes life. Life becomes a listener. A listener becomes a friend. You cannot see the friend clearly yet. The dream is still misted against its own mercy. But you feel the smile in God, the one he wears when he imagines walking in the cool of the day and hearing footsteps that match his. Not because he is lonely, but because love cannot help wanting to share its evening. The night is softened by the thought. Stars, rehearsing their shining, tremble with a new purpose, to keep watch over sleeping and waking, to count promises and not lose one, to write gentle sentences across waters where worry might try to gather. The darkness, taught by light to be kind, loosens its shoulders. It makes room for glow without jealousy. You think of your own nights, the ones in the 90s when your window glass cooled and held the moon like a coin, when the fan ticked and the hallway light was a thin river across the carpet. Those nights were rehearsals too, were they not? Practice sessions for trust, small invitations to believe that being held is possible. God's dream continues with seasons. He imagines spring with its green grammar, first the commas of sprouts, then the gentle sentences of leaves. He imagines summer as a long vowel you pray will not end, the kind you taste more than speak. He imagines autumn as a chorus entering softly after a verse, harmonies of rust and gold. He imagines winter as a chapel where sound carries farther and prayers stand up straighter in the cold. He dreams the sky like a garment tailored to every mood of day. Dawn with its unblushing pinks, noon with its hospitable blues, twilight with its pockets full of silver, night with its patient embroidery. He dreams weather that never bullies, rain that teaches roofs to sing, wind that remembers your name and does not shout it, snow that muffles a city into kindness for a few hours each year. He dreams the way lamps will look in windows from far down a road, the gospel of home preached to travellers who had only intended to go as far as the next turn. He dreams porches with wooden chairs that know the weight of worry and how to hold it until it becomes prayer. He dreams soup steaming in bowls and hands cupped around them. He dreams the smell of bread, which is a kind of light you can eat. Then he dreams pain, and you flinch, but his dreaming is not a permission slip for cruelty. It is a promise that when sorrow comes, it will not find you alone. He dreams tears, yes, but also shoulders, and the holy ache of being comforted. He dreams laments that do not cancel faith, but become its deeper octave. He dreams hospital windows where a single star insists on being seen, and the seeing steadies a nurse at 3 a.m. He dreams graves that will be gardens because a certain seed will rise. He dreams forgiveness like rain out of season, like apples in winter, like letters arriving years late but exactly on time. He dreams 1,000 small resurrections. A phone call returned, a table widened, a quiet breath in the night that persuades you not to leave. And through it all, he dreams himself near, nearer than breath, nearer than your pulse at your wrist. He dreams whispers that do not scold. I am here. He dreams the long fidelity of his own presence, the way he will keep watch from porch to field, from crib to bed, from city to a truck stop under frostbitten constellations. You understand then that for God to dream is for him to rehearse his faithfulness. He is rehearsing how to be kind to you forever. The dream now carries you to water, to a lake that mirrors a new moon. You walk at the edge, and the shore is the colour of memory, Pebbles remember rivers they have not met. The night smells of pine and a little smoke. A loon makes a sound that bends time. You sit, and the ground is forgiveness. Above you, invisible in the blue-black, stars practice spelling your name. God sits beside you. There is no throne, only that quiet chair the night pulls up when you are too tired to speak. He looks at the lake, and in it he sees the story folded like a letter. He will open it, day by day. He will read it aloud to you. Sometimes you will think the story is about other people, or history, or stars. Then suddenly your name will appear, like a lantern in a window you had not noticed. The letter will warm your hands. You ask him, without words, how he learned to dream. He answers without words too. He shows you the shape of his heart. There are rooms for every kind of darkness, and in each room a window. The windows face east. You want to stay by the lake forever, but the dream is moving, slowly, kindly, toward morning. You hear a single bird practicing a note, a sound like a thought deciding to be true. You hear wind put its fingers through pine needles and bring back a memory of childhood. The porch, the damp smell of rain on dust, a moth tapping the screen once and then twice. You do not know why you remember this, except that memories are a kind of dream God keeps for you when you are too busy to keep it yourself. He dreams work for your hands that will not bruise your spirit, sweeping a floor and knowing the floor is grateful, writing a letter and knowing the paper is listening, holding a child and knowing you are being held too. He dreams rest that is not mere collapse but Sabbath, rest that says yes to your body and no to your fear. He dreams prayers in the night that are mostly sighs, and he dreams answers that are mostly presence. He dreams scripture verses arriving like birds to a branch you forgot would hold them. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. The words sit down inside you and do not hurry to leave. As he dreams, the darkness begins to thin. The first edge of dawn appears like a secret you already knew. The stars do not fall away. They step back, the way a choir steps back to let a solo be heard. The sky turns the colour of lemons, and then peaches, and then a pink you could never wear but which looks perfect on morning. Light and darkness bow to one another, partners who have learned the same dance and are not tired of it. You realise you have been breathing in time with the dream. When you hold your breath, the night holds with you. When you release it, the lake loosens a ripple that reaches the reeds and tells them a story about kindness. Somewhere, though you cannot see it, a field is learning what dew is for. A hill is practicing the long curve that will carry a child rolling down it in July. A city is becoming ready for mercy. God rises, not away from you, but with you. You stand together and watch a long line of geese write a sentence across the pale sky. It says only this: continue. You nod. You are not afraid. Then he does something he has been waiting to do since the first breath. He takes his dream and he gives it to the day. He does not clutch it to himself. He lets it go like a boat pushed from shore, and as it leaves his hands, you see that his hands are the water too, and the wind, and the shore waving goodbye. The dream becomes world. The world becomes story. The story becomes home. You will return to this place when the sun has gone, and the porch light clicks on, and the street is a quiet lake of asphalt where leaves sail like little boats. You will return when winter draws the blinds early, and the oven warms the kitchen, and the radio plays a hymn you half remember from a church with wooden pews. You will return when you are lonely and when you are not, when you need to cry and when you need to rest. Night will bring you back, and stars will keep your place, and God will keep dreaming you toward morning. For now, walk into the day. The dream walks with you, slow and kind. The path smells like the inside of rain. The air tastes like promises kept. If you listen, you can hear the world humming a psalm under everything, a low, faithful chord that never stops. It is the sound of God learning to dream, not because he lacked the skill, but because he loved you enough to practice tenderness until the universe itself was fluent in it. When evening returns, as it always does, and your window becomes a square of permission to slow down, you will lie back and the ceiling will remember stars. Your room will fill with a coolness the color of quiet. Somewhere a train will thread the town, and you will feel your heartbeat hitch a ride and come back calm. And in that hush, a whisper you already know will go on being true. I am here. Let sleep come like a shoreline finding your feet. Let darkness be the friend that holds your hand so the light can kiss your forehead. Let the old music play, the one the first stars sang when they noticed God's eyes shining in their new shine. You are safe. The story is kind. The dream is faithful. And morning, which always knows the way home, is already on its way. Morning rose softly over the edge of the dream, not as a shout of light, but as a sigh that turned the dark translucent. The stars dimmed without protest, their duty shifting from shining to memory. Dew gathered where silence had slept, and the first breath of wind wandered the valleys as though testing the weight of air. You could almost hear creation stretch, a long, contented exhale after the deep sleep of becoming. God watched the new day unfold, not from a throne, but from within it. Every corner of the world was part of him, every glimmer of light a reflection of his still open eyes. He did not rush the morning. He let it spill slowly, like honey from a tilted jar. The trees awoke first, shaking shadows from their branches. Then came the birds, each one carrying a small fragment of his dream in its throat. Their songs drifted upward and scattered like seeds, and God smiled, for the sound reminded him of laughter. You walk through that morning, barefoot, unhurried, and the ground beneath you hums faintly with the pulse of a living God. The earth feels young, tender, almost shy about its own beauty. Grass leans against your ankles like a friendly pet. A brook threads nearby, speaking to itself in clear syllables. You kneel beside it, touch the surface, and feel both coolness and warmth, as if the water still remembers the hand that set it flowing. In the far distance, mountains stretch toward the sun, their peaks washed in gold. Mist curls between them like sleep still clinging to the edges of waking. Somewhere, a small herd moves through a meadow, hooves pressing notes into the damp soil, an unplanned hymn that fits the morning perfectly. Nothing here hurries, and because of that, everything belongs. God moves through the light like wind through wheat. You cannot see him, but you sense his nearness in the way the air slows when you stop to listen. He is not inspecting his work. He is loving it. The light, the wind, the trembling leaves, all of them return his affection in their own language. Every moment is worship without effort. He looks upon the water and dreams again, this time of reflection. He imagines faces bending over streams, seeing themselves and somehow seeing him. He imagines eyes widening at beauty, lips curving into gratitude. He imagines souls that will learn to look both inward and upward and know there is no distance between those directions. He imagines you. A breeze moves across the field and the tall grass sways in waves like the sea. The scent of wildflowers rises, fresh and faintly sweet. Bees hum nearby, small golden workers collecting sunlight disguised as nectar. You realize they too are part of the dream, living proof that even the smallest things have a song. Time, still new, passes gently. Shadows lengthen and fold, then lengthen again. The sun climbs high, its warmth deep and forgiving. You lie in the grass, watching clouds drift. Not hurried caravans, but drifting thoughts of heaven, white and weightless. God paints each one with a fingertip of wind. The world feels endless, yet held, vast, yet intimate, as if each particle of air knows its place in the melody. You close your eyes, and the earth hums beneath you. The sound is low and steady, like a heartbeat you share with something larger than yourself. For a moment, you understand that rest is not idleness, but participation. That to be still is to harmonize with the Creator. Psalm 46 flickers through your memory. Be still and know that I am God. You realize those words are not a command, but an invitation. They are the rhythm of the dream itself. Afternoon unfolds like a page turning. Light softens to amber. The river deepens its song. Insects trace invisible patterns through sunbeams. A deer steps into view, lifts its head, and looks directly toward the unseen presence of God. And the look is trust. It sips from the stream and disappears into shadow, leaving only ripples that catch the last sparkles of the day. God lingers over that simple motion, the bending of neck, the trust in water, and he learns something about gentleness. Love, he discovers, is not only in creating, but in watching quietly while creation learns to live. He feels his own heart expand with tenderness. He sees how everything he made carries a reflection of his peace, and he blesses it again in silence. As the sun dips lower, the light grows heavier, soaked in color. You walk toward the horizon and see how the world blushes in its own light. The sky is an open book filled with verses only the heart can read. Every tone of gold and rose and violet feels like a sentence in a love letter, one written not to you alone but to all that breathes. Evening arrives slowly, the air cools, crickets begin their rehearsal. The first bats trace small black prayers through the sky. Somewhere, water stills, waiting for stars. God breathes once more, and night unfolds around the day like arms drawing a child close. Shadows stretch and blend until everything is soft again. You sit at the edge of the world, maybe on a stone, maybe on time itself, and watch as the first stars return. They are brighter now than you remember. They seem to pulse in rhythm with your chest, as if heaven and you share the same heartbeat. And you do. Above, the maker of dreams watches too. He listens to the world settle into peace, to the quiet song that rises from rivers, wind, and leaves. Every note reaches him and becomes part of his own dreaming. For the dream does not end with creation. It keeps growing, expanding, learning new shapes. God, you realize, is still learning tenderness through the lives he watches, the hearts he loves. Darkness deepens, but this darkness is not emptiness. It is depth. It holds everything, cradles every glimmer, and hums with quiet power. Somewhere, unseen, angels drift like dust in lamplight, carrying prayers you have not yet spoken. You lie back on the earth, the grass cool against your skin, and feel peace settling like gentle rain. God looks down at the sleeping world and smiles. He sees not perfection, but promise. He knows how fragile his dream is and how strong it will become. He leans close to the stars, and they lean closer to him, as though confiding secrets. His whisper drifts through the vastness, touching every leaf, every drop, every soul. Rest, my beloved. The dream continues. Night gathers like silk poured from an unseen bowl, folding over mountains and rivers until the land gleams faintly under the watch of stars. Each star hums a note of quiet recognition. They have seen this before. The slow breathing of the world, the gentle rise and fall of life settling into rest. But tonight feels different. There is something new in the air, a rhythm between heartbeats, as if even the silence has begun to learn language. God walks the length of the horizon, though he leaves no trace. The sand does not shift beneath him. The grass does not bow, yet everything knows he is near. The crickets pause in their song as he passes, not out of fear, but reverence. When he moves on, they resume, slower now, as if keeping time with his steps. The sea has gone dark, but it is not asleep. Waves move in the moonlight like thoughts returning from a long journey. Each crest glimmers briefly before folding back into the deep. God listens to their rhythm, their endless coming and going, and learns again the grace of return. He smiles because the sea reminds him of his own heart, always moving, always giving, never running out. You walk beside the same sea. The sand is cool beneath your feet, packed smooth by the tide. A faint breeze tugs at your sleeves, smelling of salt and distance. Above you, constellations burn softly, each one a memory of his first dream. They shimmer like verses from a psalm older than time. You do not need to understand them. It is enough to feel their calmness. Their light feels like prayer laid gently on your skin. You stop and listen. The ocean speaks in syllables too wide for words. It tells of beginnings, of depths that never close. It tells of the spirit that hovered over waters, whispering form into chaos. You hear it and understand that all creation still remembers that voice. The waves still carry it. The stars still echo it. Your breath still hums with it. In every heartbeat, God's dream continues. Far inland, forests hold their own kind of night. Trees stand shoulder to shoulder, guardians of air and mystery. Owls drift between branches, their wings noiseless as thoughts in prayer. Foxes move through fern and root, eyes bright with reflected starlight. Somewhere, deer rest in tall grass, their sides rising and falling in the same rhythm as the tide miles away. Everything, even the hidden and the wild, moves to one pulse, the breath of God. He walks among them, unseen, and the forest bends subtly to his passing. Leaves turn toward him though there is no wind. A beam of moonlight lingers longer where he looks. He pauses beside a stream, small and silver, threading between stones that glitter with mica. The sound of it is laughter softened by patience. God kneels and touches the water. The surface trembles and clears, revealing the reflection of the stars and his own face beside them. Creation and creator meet in silence, and the silence becomes holy ground. He does not speak. He listens. Listening, he realizes, is another kind of creation. In the hush, the world speaks back to him, not in words, but in presence. The trees say, "We are growing." The rivers say, "We are flowing." The mountains say, "We are holding." And from the sky, the stars whisper, "We are waiting." Everything answers in the language it was given, and together they make a symphony of being. God closes his eyes and lets it wash over him, the way you might let the tide cover your feet. It is praise without noise. You too feel the music. It is not something you hear. It is something that happens inside your ribs. You sit on a fallen log and look up at the sky. The stars seem closer than they were. You can almost see them breathe. You remember the old verse, By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. You understand now that the breath never stopped. Creation still moves on that exhale. Hours pass unnoticed. The moon climbs higher, and mist gathers in the hollows. The air cools until each breath feels like a sip of water. Somewhere a nightingale begins to sing. One pure, clear note that finds the open spaces between stars and fills them. God listens. The sound is fragile and brave, and he feels his heart move with tenderness. The bird sings of nothing but being alive, and that is enough. It is worship without effort. God leans close, and the song becomes light. Elsewhere, small fires flicker, not divine this time, but human. The first hands have learned to kindle warmth, and the glow spreads across the land like tiny constellations on the ground. God watches them and feels wonder rise within him, a quiet joy that creation has begun to echo his own dreaming. Around each flame, voices murmur, laughter drifts, and somewhere a child falls asleep in the crook of an arm. The world has learned comfort. The dream is learning to dream back. You walk toward one of these fires and sit near its edge. Sparks lift into the air and vanish, joining the stars. The heat is gentle, rhythmic. You feel the pull between heaven and earth. Two lights speaking across the darkness, teaching each other what eternity feels like. A log cracks, releasing a scent of pine and smoke. The moment holds everything. The ache of distance, the warmth of nearness, the hum of belonging. God stands at the edge of the firelight. You cannot see his face, but you know he is smiling. He loves this. Not just the fire, but the people around it, the way they breathe and rest and look at one another. He loves the sound of shared silence, the ease of peace. He loves that his dream has learned community. He blesses the scene with his quiet and moves on, leaving behind an echo of warmth that lingers in the air long after he goes. The night deepens into its second rhythm. The stars wheel slowly overhead, tracing circles no one rushes to finish. Time itself seems to rest, breathing softly. God climbs the slope of a hill and looks across everything he has made. Below him, rivers twist like silver threads, forests roll like dark oceans, and mountains rise like sleeping giants. The world glows faintly with its own contentment. The sight fills him with stillness so deep it could last forever. He closes his eyes and dreams again. Not new worlds this time, but moments. A hand offered in forgiveness, a candle lit in mourning, a melody hummed over a sleeping child. He dreams love in its smallest gestures, knowing that these will hold creation together long after stars fade. He dreams your voice, your laughter, your prayers whispered into the same wind that once moved over the waters. And he is pleased. The first blush of dawn begins. Behind the mountains, the horizon softens and the light creeps forward, tender and pink. Birds stir, water catches faint reflections. God remains where he is, watching. He does not rush the morning. The dream is not done, but it is ready to begin again. You stand beside him and look east. The stars fade one by one, their work finished for now. The world below starts to shimmer with the promise of day. You can smell the dew on the grass, the sweetness of wet soil. God takes a breath that fills the sky, and you find yourself breathing with him. Rest, he whispers to the fading night. Wake, he says to the waiting light. And between the two, you hear the word that holds them both together. Peace. The sun lifts its face, and the dream continues, unbroken, a seamless thread of day and night, of watching and resting, of God learning the beauty of what he has made. You feel the warmth on your skin and know His dreaming never stops, it only changes shape. And somewhere behind the brightening horizon, where the stars wait for their turn to shine again, you can almost hear the next chapter beginning. Before the next dawn, heaven itself slowed. Time, that quiet servant of his dreaming, hesitated between two heartbeats, and the stillness became so complete that even the stars seemed to lean inward, listening. There was no wind, no movement of wing or wave, only thought, infinite and gentle, folding in on itself. For the first time since the beginning, God turned his gaze inward, not in pride, not in loneliness, but in curiosity, the sacred kind that love inspires when it wants to know itself more deeply. Creation slept under his care, breathing softly, each life a small ember glowing in the great dark. And in that hush, he wondered what it meant to dream not of things, but of hearts. He had spoken the world into being, and it was good. But goodness, he saw now, was only the surface of love. Beneath it lay a mystery deeper than oceans. Freedom, the power to choose him or not. In the quiet vastness of his own being, he pondered that possibility. How love could be both given and risked. How it could be perfect and yet fragile by choice. The thought did not trouble him, it moved him. The maker of galaxies felt, for the first time, a longing not for more creation, but for connection that could surprise him. It was not need, he lacked nothing, but a holy curiosity to feel what love feels like when it breathes through another's chest. He dreamed not of stars now, but of souls. And so, God learned stillness in a new way. Not the stillness of absence, but the stillness of waiting. Waiting for response, for reciprocity, for the echo of his own tenderness to return from the free hearts of those he had made. He imagined what it would sound like, the prayer of one who loves by choice. He imagined the quiet steps of trust coming toward him through the dusk of doubt. He imagined tears that meant faith and laughter that meant joy, remembered. He found these thoughts beautiful beyond measure. Inside himself, he traced the path of compassion. He saw the pain that choice could bring, the turning away, the silence of misunderstanding, the ache of separation. Yet he did not recoil. He understood that love cannot be whole unless it is free, and freedom cannot be true unless it risks loss. In that understanding, something within him widened, a gentleness deeper than power, an affection stronger than certainty. He rested there for what might have been ages, though time did not count it. Light flowed around him, the kind of light that exists only in the mind of God, weightless, patient, alive with thought. He let it move through him the way rivers move through valleys. Every motion of light revealed another layer of his own kindness, and he watched them as a painter watches colors blend, surprised, humbled, pleased. Then, in the depths of his dreaming, he saw the first flicker of sorrow. Not because anything was wrong, but because he understood now what it would mean to love a world capable of turning away. He saw shadows that had not yet fallen, and still he whispered, "Yes." That was the moment his dream became compassion. The heavens responded in silence. Planets spun slower. The angels who had been singing since the beginning softened their song to a murmur. The entire fabric of existence adjusted its rhythm to match his contemplation. Even the stars dimmed their brilliance, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the quiet courage of a God who would allow himself to be wounded by love. He dreamed again, not of creating this time, but of giving. He dreamed of reaching into the heart of time and placing mercy there, like a seed. He dreamed of forgiveness before offense, of comfort before pain, of resurrection before death. He dreamed that every tear ever shed would one day find its answer in his embrace. The dream deepened into prayer, though there was no one yet to pray to. God prayed to his own heart, asking for the strength to remain gentle even when misunderstood. He asked for patience long enough to outlast centuries of forgetfulness. He asked for joy that would not depend on praise, and in asking, he gave himself what he asked for. You can almost hear it, the first true sigh of eternity. A low, tender sound, like a chord struck in the dark. It ripples through the unmade ages, touching every corner of what will be. That sound will one day be recognized as grace. He looked into the vast field of his own thoughts and saw the countless faces of the future. He saw laughter that would echo in sunlight, hands that would build, hearts that would break and mend and break again. He saw beauty surviving ruin, hope rebuilding ashes. He saw his dream taking human form, carrying his tenderness in fragile bodies. He loved them already. He loved them enough to stay. And so, God taught himself endurance. Not the endurance of stone, but of wind, able to pass through walls and still carry warmth. He practiced patience like breathing, slow and steady. He watched time unfold ahead of him like a road lit by fireflies, one light at a time, each small and temporary, yet together eternal. The dream swelled until it became song again, but this time the music was softer. There were no trumpets, no thunder, only the pulse of a heartbeat that belonged to both creator and creation. He hummed it gently, and the sound became the promise of comfort, of presence, of peace. He dreamed of walking someday among his children, not as fire or cloud, but as one of them. He dreamed of knowing hunger, of feeling dust underfoot, of hearing laughter near a table and knowing that joy firsthand. He dreamed of loving them so completely that even pain could not unmake that love. You sit within this dream, though you do not see it. You feel it as warmth that comes from nowhere, as forgiveness that arrives before apology, as the inexplicable peace that finds you in the middle of tears. You are part of the thought that made him smile that night in eternity when he decided love was worth learning again. Above, the stars burn steadily, keeping watch. They are the punctuation marks of his meditation, tiny amens scattered across infinity. Every time one falls, it is only his way of writing another prayer into the dark. The night breathes, slow and even. Creation turns in its sleep. And somewhere in the vast silence, God closes his eyes, not to rest, but to listen to the sound of his own heart discovering what it means to dream with love that can be hurt, and still choose to love anyway. The stillness that followed his inward turning did not empty the world. It clarified it. Like a pond after rain, the silt of haste settled, and what lay beneath could finally be seen. Out of that clarity, God let his dreaming drift outward, as a lantern's circle widens when night agrees to step back a little. It did not feel like power leaving. It felt like breath shared. He began by giving the dream a doorway. Not a gate of iron, not a curtain of fire, only a small, quiet opening in the tenderest place he had made, the human heart. There, where thoughts curl around longing and memory warms its hands, he placed a window. It was simple as a child's drawing: frame, pane, light. And he promised himself that he would knock softly. You become aware of this window before you know its name. It does not glare, it glows. Sometimes it looks like a question rising from sleep. Sometimes it feels like thirst that water can't entirely solve. Sometimes it is the calm after weeping, when nothing has been fixed, and yet you are not alone. The window opens inward so that light can arrive without breaking anything. God stands at that threshold, not demanding, only present. He has learned patience deep enough to be mistaken for silence. He has learned to let freedom braid itself with invitation. He leans his forehead gently against the glass of your attention and waits until you notice the warmth. At first, his dream enters as images, a table where there is exactly one more chair than expected, a lamp that burns low and never gutters, a path that seems to know your feet. These arrive at odd hours, while washing a cup, while hearing a train thread the town at midnight, while pausing at a stair you've climbed 1,000 times. He does not choose the grand moment, he chooses the available one. He prefers, as ever, the unhurried door. When prayer begins, it is shy, a breath that lingers, a name tried on the tongue. Lord, you say, and the syllable fits like water. Scripture remembers you before you remember it. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me, says Psalm 23. And the words step into your room like two faithful friends who know where the kettle is. God does not lecture. He lets the remembered lines braid into your breathing until they feel like your own thoughts returning home. He has dreamed a new kind of nearness now, companionship, not spectacle hovering over rooftops, but presence sitting on the same step. He learns, as if he did not always know, yet loves to discover again, how human time marks itself, by kettles and keys, by streetlights that wink on, by the soft click of a lamp's chain. He fits himself into these small liturgies with such tenderness that you mistake him for peace. You are not wrong. On a winter night, he tries a new brushstroke. He lifts a memory from the shelf where your mind keeps its treasures. A hallway with scuffed paint, a pair of shoes at the mat, the smell of soup that made the dark friendly. He places it on the window ledge of your heart and lets it warm the room. You do not know why the memory has come. You only know that the ache eased, like a knot loosening under a kind hand. That loosening is his dream learning to live in you. Elsewhere, he lets compassion enter like weather. You see a stranger holding a heavy thing, not just a box, but a day, and something inside you moves before your mind does. You step forward and lift the edge. That motion is not an idea arguing itself. It is love becoming muscle. God has braided his patience into your reflex, and now it feels natural to be kind. He discovers, again joyfully, that truth travels best in stories. So he slides parables under the door of your understanding. A shepherd who will not stop looking. A father who runs before an apology finishes. A woman who lights her house to find one coin that was always worth the search. You hear these and feel the window open wider. Air moves, light lengthens. The world becomes not less ordinary, but more significant. Every small thing seems to have a hand on its shoulder. At times, he lets you feel his absence, so you can learn the shape of longing, not as punishment, but as pedagogy. Even lovers step into separate rooms to remember desire. Even the sun leaves so the moon can teach you silver. In those spaces, he trusts you with the candle he set on your windowsill. You discover that faith is not the denial of darkness, but the art of carrying light through it. God's inward dream and your inward life begin to share a pulse. You notice it on a bus, forehead against cool glass, watching streetlights repeat themselves like a psalm refrain. You notice it in the grocery store line, where patience feels like a hymn quietly hummed. You notice it at 3 a.m. when fear knocks, and instead of arguing, you breathe the name you have learned, Jesus, And the room remembers who owns the night. He teaches you to hear with the skin of your heart. A friend's voice sags, and before words assemble, mercy steps forward in you. A child's laughter rings, and gratitude strings lights across the rafters of your chest. Even the news, tired, loud, cannot drown the softer broadcast coming from inside. I am here. It is not denial, it is defiance of despair. Sometimes he paints with seasons. In spring, he writes in tender greens that forgiveness is the oldest growth. You did not plant it, yet it returns. Summer tells you abundance is not performance. Orchards do not hurry and are never ashamed of sweetness. Autumn loosens your grip with beauty that refuses to cling. Leaves release because trust has roots. Winter, the quiet teacher, draws a chair close to the heater of his presence and says, "Here is the curriculum of small joys: tea, wool, a hand to hold, breath seen and honored, the sky so clear that stars sound like bells." He has learned, in his own way, the courage of restraint. Omnipotence elects gentleness. The one who hung nebulae like scarves across the night now slips a note into your pocket. Be not afraid. He could thunder, and sometimes he does. Mountains remember. But for you, most nights, he chooses whisper. The whisper is how he practices proximity without pressure. It is how he stays immense and becomes intimate. There are hours when sorrow arrives with its heavy suitcase and refuses to explain itself. On those hours, he does not rearrange your furniture. He sits with you on the floor. He lets tears do their honest work, baptizing the ache. He remembers the shape of dust. You find that the room holds both of you easily, the God who can't be contained and the human who can't go on. And somehow, between those two truths, a third truth appears. Tomorrow exists. He dreamt it already, and he will walk there with you. At the window, he leaves you gifts that are more like tools than trinkets. Silence, so you can hear what love sounds like without words. Sabbath, so you can practice a world that runs on mercy rather than merit. Scripture, so your mouth has bread, even on days when your cupboards do not. Community, so you learn that shoulders were invented for sharing weight. None of these are demands. They are invitations wrapped in ordinary paper. He wonders, in his own delighted way, at how easily glory hides in the common. He watches you rinse a cup until it squeaks and calls the sound beautiful. He sees you. Choose not to say the cutting thing and names the moment's strength. He notices the text you send that reads, "Thinking of you," and counts it as intercession. The registry of heaven is filled with such smallness, which turns out not to be small at all. When night returns, he lights the old lamps, Orion over the water, the Pleiades like a cluster of quiet yeses, the wide river of the Milky Way. He knows you will step outside to take out the trash or to call a pet or to breathe, and that you will look up by reflex. He meets you there, not with explanation, but with scale. The good overwhelm of being held by something vaster and kinder than your worry. You go to bed lighter, because magnitude has partnered with mercy. He dreams now with you, not merely for you. Dreams of reconciling phone calls, of tables lengthened by mismatched chairs, of hospital corridors where a hymn hums low behind masks. He dreams of teachers who bring gentleness to rooms where fear expects a scolding, of nurses who learn each patient's smallest comfort, of bakers whose loaves taste like Sabbath. He dreams of you forgiving the version of yourself that didn't know what you know now. In the morning, these dreams will look like choices. At night, they glow like stars. Sometimes he leans close and lets you glimpse the architecture of hope. It looks like scaffolding around ruins, like gardens in vacant lots, like women laughing in kitchens where grief once slept on the floor. It looks like a cross-shaped absence turned doorway, light beyond it, hard to stare at and yet somehow familiar. Your heart performs its instinctive bow, and he lifts your chin, not to remove reverence, but to let you see that the story is taller than your pain. And when your strength thins, when night feels longer than Psalm 130 promised, he borrows your own breath to pray for you. The Spirit himself intercedes with groans too deep for words. You do not hear those groans. You feel their aftermath, the unclenching, the small warmth at your sternum, the decision to try again. He has made himself your advocate at your own window. He has learned the sound of your fear and tuned his comfort to match its key. Near dawn, the dream circles back to simplicity. He places on the sill of your heart the oldest sentence he ever spoke: "Let there be light." It arrives not as explosion, but as permission. The room brightens by degrees. In the pale, you see the soft outlines of what will be possible today: apology, attention, laughter, bread. You open the window. Morning enters like a friend who knows how to be quiet. And over the fields, over small streets and big cities, over roofs that keep the weather off love, the light finds faces that have slept under his watch. He smiles, not because he is finished, but because he is faithful. The dream goes on, shared now, braided with your steps, patient with your stumbles, luminous even when carried through shadow. He has learned to dream in you, and you have learned to live in him. Somewhere a kettle decides it is time to sing. Somewhere a train remembers its appointment with distance. Somewhere a child points at a window brightening and says a word that means again. And God, pleased with how his own heart has widened, whispers the benediction that started everything and starts it still. I am here. Dawn does not hurry. It arrives like understanding. A pale seam opens at the edge of the world, and the darkness does what it has learned so well to do. It loosens, keeping its dignity as it steps aside for light. You stand in that gentle threshold, feeling the long breath between night and morning move through you. The grass is cold with dew. Your hands remember sleep. The sky is the color of forgiveness before apology. God is near, nearer than the mist that lifts from the river. He does not announce himself. He lets the morning do it for him. Birds test their notes and then commit. Far fields take light like a blessing passed down a row. Rooflines warm. Somewhere a kettle begins to consider song. The world, which dreamed all night, begins to speak. You walk the road that leads away from the village and toward the hills. It has rained, and the scent of earth rises like a psalm you once knew by heart. Puddles hold small skies in their palms. A leaf floats there, amber and certain, drifting across a universe no bigger than a dinner plate. You look down, the sky looks back. Between the two, God's kindness ties a knot. The dream has matured. It does not sparkle to persuade you. It leans in to accompany you. You feel it in the quiet courage that keeps step with your ordinary tasks. The latch lifted, the door pulled, the bucket lowered, the bread sliced, the lamp turned low. None of it shouts, and yet each thing rings with low music, as if the world were a bell rung from within. You realize that God has learned the timbre of your hours and tuned his presence to fit them, note by note. Mid-morning light gathers in the orchard. The fruit wears its own small suns. You lift one, cool, smooth, and inhale the clean sweetness that tastes like patience. The tree has been keeping vigil for months, translating light into tenderness. You bite, and the flesh breaks softly. A trickle of sugar writes a line on your wrist. You lick it and think, unembarrassed. This is worship. God smiles in the shade and calls it truth. Across the stone wall, a field rolls out like a prayer rug. You sit there and watch wind make silver out of green. A hawk hangs on a thread you cannot see and then lets go, trusting air to become hand. In the distance, laundry lifts and lowers on a line, garments praying their own small prayers. Lord, keep warm the ones who wear us. The goodness of things is so ordinary, you feel your eyes bless them before your mouth finds language. When noon arrives, it does not blaze. It opens. Shadows retreat respectfully beneath wheels and benches. The river widens its eyes and shines. Children shout, and their voices bounce from water to bank, from bank to water, until the day itself is laughing. You remember a verse that never learned to age. In him we live and move and have our being, and you think of it not as a doctrine, but as a location. God walks with you, not ahead to pull, not behind to push, but beside, the way a friend keeps pace without measuring. Sometimes he touches your shoulder in a way that feels like shade. Sometimes he touches your thoughts in a way that feels like air. He points once, and you follow his finger to a blue thread in the wing of a dragonfly. The color is so exact, it quiets you. There, he says without sound, and you understand that attention is a kind of prayer. Afternoon deepens, a low golden tide. Work gentles itself. Tools remember hands and relax. Someone somewhere sings without worrying whether the note will land. Bread breaks on a table you will never see, and you are unexpectedly grateful for strangers whose hunger found its answer. God receives the thanks you don't know you are giving and gives it away again like light through leaves. Clouds shoulder together in the west, not to threaten, but to gather. Thunder clears its throat in the hills, a generous baritone. First, drops arrive, dark coins on dust. Then a steady generosity that refreshes everything it touches. You stand under the eave and watch the world take a long drink. Rain hangs beads on spider silk, turns roads into bright lines, makes roofs whisper. The smell is the exact name of relief. God loves rain for the way it teaches abundance without spectacle. It does not ask applause, it asks open ground. You step into it and let your hair become a psalm. Wet through to your bones, you begin to understand baptism again. The art of letting love have you. The lightning stays far, polite. The storm does not argue, it blesses. When it passes, the air is rinsed and close, and the leaves hold stars hours before the darkness returns. Evening leans against the doorframe, smiling. The first lamps appear, on porches, in windows, in the patient sky. Supper is a small liturgy. Knife on board, spoon in pot, the sigh of chairs. You eat without hurry and feel bread go where it was sent to go. A radio, somewhere in another room, remembers an old hymn and can't help humming. The dog yawns. A child draws a galaxy with 6 colors, none of them wrong. You look up and see the real galaxy arriving, piece by careful piece. Night kneads the edges of the day back into softness. Shadows pool in corners where books rest and shoes sleep. Streetlights bloom one by one like quiet magnolias. The moon rises round as a blessing and spills a pale road on the river. You step outside, because that is what night asks. Air touches your face with the cool palm of a nurse. Above you, constellations take their places like elders sitting down to keep watch. The world remembers how to whisper. Crickets string their patient silver. An owl writes a question in the dark and leaves it unanswered on purpose. Somewhere, a screen door sighs and footsteps cross a porch, and two voices trade the kind of silence that mends what talking cannot. The earth tilts an imperceptible degree more toward rest, and rest arrives on time. God stands at the edge of your yard and inside your chest at once. He has learned the courage to be near without demanding notice. He has learned to share the lead in the dance he began. He nods to the darkness, which bows back, then nods to the light waiting just beyond the hill. His eyes are kind in both directions. He knows how to hold the middle. You lie down and the bed receives you like a shoreline. Pillows smell faintly of lavender and last week's laughter. Your breath finds the old cadence, in, out, the prayer you inherited before language. God counts your breaths only because he likes the number. It steadies him to steady you. Somewhere beyond the maple tree, the stars conduct their ancient, gentle business of staying. Later, an hour or a year, you wake in the middle watch. The house is quiet in the way safe houses are. The clock's red syllables keep their promise. The refrigerator prays in low monotone. You drink water and stand at the window. The neighborhood is an archipelago of sleeping roofs in a black sea. And there, above the telephone wires, a single bright planet hangs like a bead on an invisible string. It is enough light to tell your heart, all is not lost. You do not ask for a sign, but you are given one anyway. A meteor draws its silver sentence and ends it with silence. You smile into the glass. God smiles back from the other side, the side that is also this side. I am here, he says, not to wake the house but to tuck it in. Toward morning, fog comes in on careful feet. Fields disappear so that they can be rediscovered. Streetlights become moons. The world shrinks to what your hands can touch. The edge of a table, the curve of a cup. And in that smallness, you remember something true. That love does its best work close. God stays with you in the cotton-soft dim, a companion who refuses to hurry the reveal. When the first bird wages hope against gloom, you hear how brave a single note can be. Another joins, then another. The fog thins like doubt. The horizon sighs. You can feel the new day waiting for permission, and you know who will give it. He does. With a breath, with a word that has never retired. Light returns not to conquer, but to continue. You stand in the doorway between night and day and understand. His dream opens, always opens. What rests rises. What hides is held. What hurts is heard. And what you cannot carry, he can, quietly, like a dawn no one owns. The kettle finally sings. You pour. Steam writes brief psalms that fade into air. The cup warms your palms, and the warmth goes deeper than your hands. Outside, the world begins its simple liturgy of traffic and tasks. And inside, the older liturgy continues. Be not afraid. I am with you. The dream is faithful. You step out into the morning and watch the sun fetch colour from the houses, the river fetch sky from the water, your heart fetch courage from a God who has learned to dream with you, not above you. The day receives your yes without conditions. Behind you, in the rooms you'll return to tonight, the night has folded the quilts and straightened the books and left the lamp ready. The stars have gone to their quiet posts. The moon has made herself small and silver and slipped away. And the story walks on, not toward a period, but toward a breath. The afternoon stretches itself wide across the fields, a golden yawn that smells of dust and bread. You walk slowly, not toward anything, but with everything. The air has softened into honey. Even the shadows have edges round as kindness. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings, not to summon or dismiss, but simply to remind the day that it still belongs to peace. You sit on a low wall warmed by hours of sunlight. The stones hum faintly with stored heat, the way old hearts hum with remembered love. You close your eyes and the world becomes texture, the hum of bees in clover, the ticking wings of sparrows in a hedge, the faint heartbeat of the earth beneath your feet. You realize you are not waiting for God to speak. You are inside His speaking already. When you open your eyes again, everything seems to shimmer from within. The leaves, the dust motes, the curve of your hand. Each thing holds its own quiet. Yes. You begin to understand that God has learned to dream through matter itself. His imagination runs now through bark and water, through heartbeat and laughter, through the smallest gesture of care. Creation is His bloodstream, and love is the pulse. You stand, stretch, and wander down a path edged with small purple flowers. Bees tilt in and out like commas. Their patience teaches you something about rhythm, how joy doesn't rush, it repeats. The sky above holds a colour that no painter could name. It is the hue of serenity thinking about forever. God walks beside you again, silent, barefoot in His own world. He smiles as if He's been reading your thoughts and likes them. Do you still dream? You ask without sound. He answers without words, only through you now. You feel it then, the astonishing gentleness of it, how the creator of oceans and galaxies has chosen to keep dreaming in the pulse of human hearts, in the slow making of meals, in hands that hold, in voices that bless. He no longer dreams alone. He dreams through the world that breathes him back. It is what he wanted all along. Evening slides down the hills like velvet spilled from heaven. Children's laughter dissolves into the hum of cicadas. The air smells of cooling stone and wood smoke. You light a small lamp, and its glow folds neatly into the dark, as if the night had been waiting for this exact colour. Above, the first star blinks awake, modest and sure. You nod to it, like greeting an old friend who has kept your secrets. Somewhere, unseen, rivers keep their vow to flow. Mountains rehearse stillness. The moon rehearses arrival. Every living thing is faithful to its own form of praise. Even sorrow, that old tutor, walks more gently tonight. You feel its hand brush yours, not to pull you backward, but to say, see, even I belong. You sit and let your mind rest in the wide, luminous hush that follows. A moth circles the lamp, its wings writing invisible scripture. God watches with the same fondness He once gave to galaxies. He has learned to love smallness, not despite its limits, but because of them. What can be held can also be cherished. Hours pass like long breaths. The world cools and leans into sleep. Wind combs through the tall grass with the tenderness of a mother smoothing a child's hair. Stars blink through thinning clouds, and the night smells faintly of iron and rain. Every so often, a shooting star crosses the sky, like punctuation in a story that refuses to end. Each one feels like a reminder. Even falling can be luminous. You think about tomorrow, about the days to come, how they will arrive plain and unannounced, filled with small chances to be kind, to listen, to forgive. You realize those chances are the dream. The sacred hides in errands and emails, in laughter shared over dishes, in choosing gentleness again and again. God has made the ordinary His cathedral. The choir sings in aprons and work boots. When you finally rise to go inside, the horizon glows faintly, a silver seam where another day already waits. You feel the quiet hand of time on your back, guiding, never pushing. At the door you pause, look once more at the stars, and whisper something you didn't plan to say. Thank you for learning with us. The words float upward, slow as smoke, and you sense that heaven hears. Somewhere, a soft laughter rolls through the constellations, not loud, just content. The kind of laughter that says, yes, it was worth it, every breath, every dream. Inside, you leave the lamp burning low. Its light curls against the walls like a faithful pet. You sit on the edge of the bed, feel the day slip off your shoulders, and realize that rest is not escape, but communion. When you close your eyes, the darkness feels alive with presence. You remember that the stars are still at work. That night is just another shape of light. You fall asleep easily. The world exhales, and somewhere beyond the curtain of your breath, God continues his dreaming, slow, tender, endless, painting the same truth across every dawn that follows. Love never stops learning.